Welcome to the People's Sports Podcast. I'm Charlotte Wilder, and he is not here. Usually, I host this with Mark Titus, as all of you know, and Mark is very busy because I don't know if you know this, but it is the first week of March Madness, and Mark's a college basketball guy, which no one ever talks about, but he is. So I'm holding down the show once again today. Thank you to everyone who listened to the mailbag, where I talked to myself about junk food. That was very nice of you. But today we have two really, really fun guests. We've got Ben Verlander, who is our newest Fox Sports colleague. He's a baseball guy. He's really fun. Loved talking to him. And we did some lists together about March Madness. It's always fun to have people who talk about one sport come on to talk about a different sport. Also today, very thrilled to have Rob Riggle on the show. He is going to help me learn how to trash talk certain schools during March Madness, which I think is very important. So as always, please write us at the People's Sports Podcast at gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter. We are at People Sports. On Instagram, we are at this is tricky. The email is the People's Sports Podcast, but Instagram is People's Sports Podcast. And we're going to have some really fun clips out from this show. So make sure you follow along with all that. And without further ado, here is me talking to not myself and to two people who aren't Mark Titus. And I think you're going to enjoy it. I am thrilled to be joined by Ben Verlander, one of Fox Sports' newest contributors. You are a jack of all trades. You are a baseball guy. Ben, welcome. We are so thrilled you're on the team, and I am so thrilled that you're joining me today.
Thank you. Jack of all trades is quite the intro. I think that is the nicest you have been to me so far, but I am super pumped to be here.
Oh, come on, Ben. I've been very nice to you. Come on. I follow you on Instagram. I liked your Instagram where you're selling a mattress. Give me a little credit here.
That was a tough one. Thank you for that. Thank you.
It wasn't a tough look. I think it seems like a great mattress, so I think you're doing the right thing. No, but you are a jack of all trades. First of all, can you tell the people who you are? Can you introduce yourself a little bit here?
Yeah, I'm Ben Verlander. I played professional baseball in the Detroit Tigers organization for 5 years, and then finished up. And now I am an analyst on the MLB side of things and write and do a bunch of stuff. We're a jack of all trades here.
See that? Okay. So the reason I said that is because, first of all, and you have some exciting stuff coming up that we can't talk about yet, but that everybody should keep an eye out. Everybody should follow you. What are your handles?
On Instagram, it's just Ben_Verlander. Twitter is Verly32. But if you just search my name, it's fine. Isn't that a great
Verly32? I love that.
Stop.
I love it.
Isn't it a great, he's got something exciting. We can't say anything at all, but trust me.
Listen, I have never felt cooler than when I've been able to say, which has happened very few times. I am by no means a big deal, but there have been one or two times in my career where I'll have gone on a pod, right before I came to Fox Sports, someone asked me what I was up to or how things were going at SI. And I was like, well, I might have some news in the future, but I can't really say anything yet. Never felt cooler in my entire life, Ben.
Yeah, that was really cool hearing you say that. I think that was the first. We can't tell you yet, but stay tuned for a big announcement. But seriously, I'm excited.
I love it. What do Fox Sports and playing professional baseball so far have in common?
To be honest, this team that we have built here is very much so I don't know. It's a really cool team. It's a really cool I feel like everybody's the same. Everybody gets along. And it's very similar to a locker room culture. But aside from that, there's not much I don't look at Charlotte and say, yeah, she's going to hit about 300 with 10 home runs this year.
You don't know that. You don't know that. You should see me in a beer league softball game. I did play softball, and I was terrible at playing at the infield. They had to move me into the outfield because I had all these bruises up and down my shins because I just would stop the ball with my legs as opposed to my glove. And but I could hit. The one thing I could do, I could definitely hit. So.
Wow.
Put some respect on my name, Ben.
Home Run Derby in our future segment?
Ooh, I don't hate that at all. Let's do it. Let's make it happen. No, I agree. I mean, I think that the team we're putting together here is really exciting. It's really cool. Mike Buckland, our boss, I hope you're listening to us say this. But in all seriousness, it's been great to have you. And I hear, though, that you know, aside from being a great teammate and everything, I hear you do have a bone to pick with me.
Yeah, I do. I know I listen to everything you guys do, and you guys often do a list. It seems like every episode there's a list involved with it. And you guys did one the other day. Not sure if you're super familiar with it, but it was top siblings in sports. Now, I would have been understanding had you gone a traditional, like maybe, the most famous of all time. But knowing you, I know that's not your thing. You go off the walls.
I know you're a nut job, and it's never straightforward. That is the nicest thing you've ever said to me, Ben. So continue. Yeah.
So don't butter me up while I'm here. This is important. So I was not on your list of top siblings in sports of all time. Now, I don't know if you know this. I'm assuming my brother is fairly good at baseball. I have faced him one time in my life and hit a home run, making me better at baseball than him. And you couldn't even put me on the list.
First of all, that's an unbelievable. My brother is Justin Verlander, and I once hit a home run off of him, so I'm better at baseball than Justin Verlander. That's an ultimate galaxy brain thing that I really, truly love. Okay, so I have to defend myself here. First of all, that would have been a huge conflict of interest. I'm a capital J journalist, Ben, and everybody knows that we work together, and it would have looked like some real shady stuff if I had put the Verlanders on my list. Second of all, I only put twins on my list, so that is you can yell at Mark. Like, it could be Mark's fault. Mark didn't put you on his list, but I only put twins. So unless you and Justin are suddenly twins, I think that I have a pretty solid out here.
Okay, I agree, and that's actually fair. That's fair.
Although I will say I'm sorry.
That's all. Thank you. That's all I wanted in this entire show was an apology from Charlotte. I feel so good about myself now.
Isn't that how, that was like a typical, you know how there are all these apologies these days as like bad men do bad things or bad people do bad things. And the apology is always like, you know, you're supposed to lead with, I am truly sorry, and state what you've done wrong and not try to gaslight the other person. And I just did exactly that. I was like, first of all, you're wrong. I did nothing wrong. Here are all my excuses. And then lastly, but I'm sorry though.
You took me through an entire list. Here's why I didn't. Here's why I didn't. Here's why I didn't. Ha ha ha. Sorry.
I just think it's important that we got there, is all I'll say. So we have you on today, which is super exciting. We're hopefully going to have you back to talk, you know, true baseball at some point. But today we're going to, I don't know. When we were talking about planning the show, it was like, we can't not talk about March Madness, right?
I mean, it's what everyone's talking about right now, including, like, I'm as excited as anybody for the start of baseball season. But you turn on the TV right now, and it's all about March Madness, which is great. It's like the best time of year.
Totally. It's so fun. We have one of the best weekends in sports coming up. So we're going to get to that. We have a really fun list planned today. But before that, we do have to do one quick headline, Ben, which is that LeBron James has become a part owner of the Boston Red Sox, otherwise known as Fenway Sports Group, which he's been involved with for a long time. He's been involved with the Liverpool team that FSG owns, and he made it official and has like I think he put like $750 million into the sports group, which is not a small amount of money.
No.
But I want to talk to you about this. You're a baseball guy. Like, what are your thoughts? What did you think when you saw this? Is this less surprising than maybe I, a Red Sox fan, would have initially thought?
No, I think it's pretty surprising in terms of, like, I would have never seen the Red Sox, the team that he becomes part owner of. He's always wearing, Indians hats. Yeah, he's a noted Yankees fan. But in terms of him getting into baseball, when I think LeBron James, I always think baseball. So in that aspect, it makes total sense.
Sorry, that took me a second. I was like, yes, and then I was like, whoa, wait, what? Right. Well, I mean, he said before that he would be a great baseball player, or did he say be a great football player?
I think he said football, but knowing him, he probably would be. And two, he probably did say he'd be good at baseball as well. But, you know, in all honesty, we're starting to see this more and more. Patrick Mahomes is now part owner of the Royals. LeBron now the Red Sox. I think it's becoming a trend of athletes sort of getting into other sports, athletes that are at the top of their game. You know, obviously most can't afford $975 million. But I think it's good. I think it's great for him. And I think it's good for the sport to have somebody like him, one of the greatest of all time, branching out and getting into the baseball space. And it's good advertising all around.
I think so, too. I think, you know, as a Red Sox fan, something that I'm particularly, you know, I guess looking at Twitter and, you know, a few friends of mine made jokes that was like, well, as he's a lifelong Yankees fan, he said, and he was rooting for the Dodgers in the last World Series. And, you know, there might be some sort of budding rivalry there. And they were like, you think he's trying to sink the team? And I was sort of laughing. I was thinking, like, what if Derek Jeter went to the Marlins, like, to sink the Marlins? And then, you know, LeBron goes to the Red Sox to, you know, like these ownership groups. But I mean, at the end of the day, something that I think every Red Sox fan should take solace in is that LeBron James is one of the greatest of all time. He's at any sport, so he's definitely going to make. I think he'll bring that spirit, but also, like, if the Red Sox make money, LeBron James is going to make money, and I think that most people. I mean, you know, you're pretty motivated by money, right? Like, like he's not buying the Red Sox. He's not enough of a Yankees fan to buy the Red Sox to take the Red Sox.
Right. He's not really a Yankee. I mean, he was rooting for the Dodgers. He's an Indians fan. You know, like where is it? But I do think it's important. You know, he's a superstar, and baseball is starting to advertise itself the right way and become more exciting. But for so long, it was such a boring way it was marketed. The best players are marketed so poorly, and to have somebody like him that can come in and promote the game in a very exciting time. I'm all for it, to be honest with you.
Same. And I also think, you know, not to get too serious on a podcast that's supposed to be fun, but I think that it's really important to have Black people in those rooms. And I think that to have LeBron, what did he say about it? He and Maverick Carter became partners in FSG, and LeBron said, I think for me and my partner Maverick, to be the first two Black men to be part of that ownership group in the history of that franchise, I think that is pretty damn cool. And, you know, obviously, like, racism is a huge issue in every city, but as someone who's from Boston, I do know that Boston has had a pretty poor track record, you know, from the street being called Yawkey Way, and, you know, Tom Yawkey had a pretty bad history with discrimination. And then, you know, you have the slurs that fans said to Adam Jones. I mean, it's just like, I was impressed with how the Red Sox sort of handled the racial reckoning last summer. I thought they put out good statements. I thought that they really did seem to be dedicated to change. And I think now having LeBron in that room, like, that's going to be huge. You know, you need representation among people who make these important decisions. And so I'm very hopeful that will make a big difference in that franchise.
Yep, 100%. It's really nice to see that in a city like Boston that has notably had some issues. And it's just nice to start to see more and more diversity come around in baseball, with Kim Ng down in Florida, the first female GM. I mean, just some cool stuff happening, and this is another example of that.
It's almost enough to make you hopeful, isn't it, Ben?
Almost.
I know, right? You're like, okay, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Who do you think would be the most surprising athlete to own a different team? Like, what's an athlete, if they bought into a baseball team, that you would be like, what?
I would say, like, the first one that comes to mind is like a kicker in the NFL. Like, if Dan Bailey bought the Seattle Mariners, I'd be like, wait, what?
Oh my God, Cody Parkey becomes like a part owner in the Cubs.
Oh my God, they would. I don't know how that would go over there.
Chicago would implode.
Yes, they would literally.
A kicker in an NFL buying another team is like one of the funnier things I've ever, or like a long snapper. You know, it's like, I can't even think of like Joe Cardona becomes a part owner, and that's just so good. That's Ben. You get this show, man. You understand.
I get it. It's more. That's why I listen. Not only because of you and Mark, but because it's my speed. Like I can come on here and talk about a kicker owning an MLB team. Why? Because it'd be like really, really cool. Like of course LeBron would. Give me Dan Bailey. Like give me Dan Bailey owning a baseball team.
That's so great. That's so great. Okay. I mean, should we talk March Madness? Should we dive on in? I'm really, really intrigued to hear about your bracket because I went completely off the rails when it came to filling one out. And, I wrote this piece for foxsports.com, and I think that it felt a little bit like a fever dream. Like I was sort of in and out while I was writing it. And then, we published it and I woke up the next morning and I was like, what did I just write? But basically, whenever I try to fill up my bracket, like actually using basketball knowledge or some semblance of whatever that might be as someone who doesn't follow college basketball particularly closely, I get way too into it. Like I get way, 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 way too competitive. And my bracket always sucks. Like I told my mom I was doing this and she goes, oh, and she doesn't really follow sports. And she was like, oh yeah, no, your bracket's always out in like the first round. And I was like, Deb, what? And she was like, yeah, you're historically bad at it. So I sort of, I wrote this piece about how I filled out my bracket using total nonsense basically. And like all these arbitrary reasons, because I feel like it'll have just as good of a chance as winning because I just never know what I'm talking about, but also because I was kind of trying to like emotionally protect myself from getting too invested. Like if I treat it as a joke the whole time, the minute my bracket's busted, I'll be like, oh, well, I didn't really try,
Yeah. Let me say this about your article, and let me start by saying I haven't read it, so let's
good. Never read anything I write.
But what I will say is we were prepping for this show a couple days ago while you were in the middle of writing it. And you got on and looked like you were like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. Like, what am I even here? What is this? So I can't wait to read it and to see. It's going to be electric. I
was 10 minutes late to a Zoom meeting. And I don't think there's anything like more mortifying than forgetting that you have to be in a Zoom meeting and being 10 minutes late, because it's like you're sitting in your house. Like everybody knows that like all I was doing but I was writing this thing and I got completely swept up in my own stupidity. So first of all, thank you for bearing with me. Second of all, I'm glad that I looked as dazed as I felt because I was not operating at 100 in that moment. But so we can go through some of my bracket just because, I know the people are dying to hear that, but I would like to hear I want to hear what you're thinking here. I want to hear what your bracket looks like.
Yeah, so first and foremost, I think we have a clear favorite in the bracket. I think Gonzaga is the best team in the country. I was going
to say Georgetown, right?
Yes, Georgetown. So I know that you are a big fan of Georgia Tech because of their coach. One thing I'm really invested into that game because I think Georgia Tech is their coach is great and they're coming into the tournament very hot. Yep. But they are facing Sister Jean, and I think she's a little bit hotter. So
yes, I agree.
Yeah.
I have like serious Sister Jean thoughts that we're actually going to get to in a little while. But do you think it almost feels like that's Georgia Tech versus Loyola is a battle of like who's a better person? Do you know what I mean? Like like Josh Pastner is basically Ted Lasso, and I want to talk about these guys a little bit later, but facing each other in that first round is like if you had Sister Jean is like, she's a nun, right? She's literally
yes,
and she's 101 years old. Like, I can't say she's literally a saint, but if anyone's in the running to like become, I'm also Jewish, so I really don't know what I'm talking about here. But like, if anyone were in the running to become a saint, it feels like she's sort of up there.
Do you think, oh boy, do you think if Loyola Chicago were to win the NCAA tournament, that Sister Jean would pass away right after just from sheer excitement and feeling like her life was fulfilled?
Okay, we go to like some dark places in this show.
No, but in a good way.
Like,
Like she'd be like
she,
her
like
life.
there's nothing left. Like she's done everything.
Exactly.
If they win the tournament,
If they win it all, like her life has been fulfilled.
that's honestly. It's like a really fantastic question. Maybe that's what she's, maybe she'll live to be like 120 until. I also, what I really love about Sister Jean though is she's under no illusion that that's possible. Like when I saw a clip where they interviewed her on ESPN and they were like, where do you have Loyola going to? And she was like, oh, they'll make it to the Elite Eight. But like she wasn't like, oh, they're winning it all or they're going to the Final Four. She's a realist, Sister Jean. Last year she only had them going to the Sweet 16. So I appreciate that about her, and I wonder if I want to know what she prays for. I want to know if she keeps her prayers realistic. No, hear me out. I want to know if she's like, hey, like please let my bracket be right. So pray for what I put down, or if she's like pray for the team to go all the way to clinch the title.
I think at this point, with her being as old as she is, that she has done so much good for so many people in her life that at this point, her prayers have gone towards things. She's like, I'm this old. I'm old enough I'm going to pray for me and what I want. So you're right. She is 100% praying for Loyola Chicago to make it to, the Elite Eight.
Wait, I love that bet. Yeah, like at a certain point, if you've been enough of a good person, you get to just like become completely selfish.
It's a treat. Yeah.
Sister Jean can have the Elite Eight as a treat. I love that. Okay, so well, who do you think's gonna do it? You think it's gonna be Georgia Tech or Loyola?
I think Loyola's going to win. And all like joking aside, I actually think they're a really, really good team, and that people don't really understand that. I think people, when they think of them, think of Sister Jean naturally, but they're actually a really, really good basketball team. And I think Georgia Tech has been really hot lately, but kind of, the excitement of the ACC tournament and everything. I don't know if they'll be able to carry that. This is a whole different animal. So
like their luck might be running out.
Bingo.
So how closely do you follow college basketball? Are you a big college sports fan?
Yes. Yeah. I follow college basketball pretty much from the beginning of the season. And then once it gets to tournament time, I like lock in on every game. Mm-hmm. And like the conference tournaments, I'm locked in on every game. But okay. I watch a lot throughout the season.
It's so interesting to me. I love talking to people who do a specific sport about other sports, because I often find that it's very easy to sort of get tunnel vision in your own sport, and be like, you can know it so well that when you sort of zoom out and go into something else that you might follow as closely, but don't have to quite, analyze as in depth every day. People often say like really great, surprising things about the sports they don't cover quite as often. And so I'm so psyched that we're having you on and doing college basketball, because, you get fresh takes, you get fresh ideas. Okay. So who do you have making it to the Elite Eight? That's my question.
Every team in the Elite Eight?
Or let's just do Final Four, because we got a fun list to get to.
Okay. Final Four. I have Gonzaga.
Mm-hmm.
I have, hold on, let me click over on this side. I have Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm not a huge Baylor fan. I just think
I'm not either.
I just think the Big Ten is so much better than any other conference. I don't know. Could be wrong. And then in the Midwest side of the bracket, I have Houston.
Mm-hmm.
The matchup over there, I have Loyola winning against Georgia Tech, as you know, but they're going to play Illinois. And I'm so here for that matchup. Like, I actually think that it's going to be a really, really fun game.
The battle of the soul of Illinois.
Correct. Yes. And
I just want you to know that I thought a little bit before I said that, because I was like, Chicago is in Illinois, right?
Yes.
That's the kind of thing that I would get, that I'd be like, the Battle of Iowa, and everyone would be like, she was so close.
I thought it was rhetorical until I looked back over at the screen and you're like pausing, waiting for me to answer. I was like, yes, Charlotte. Yeah. Yes, it is.
Welcome to doing a show with me, Ben. Okay, so do you have Houston, Illinois?
I have Houston, Illinois. Yes, and I have Houston winning that.
Really?
Yes.
It's fun to talk about something as a real bracket, because can I tell you my final four from my totally off the rails bracket?
Would love that.
It is Kansas versus Georgetown, and then Arkansas versus Rutgers. I
have a lot of questions.
Ask them.
I would like to ask them. How did we get there? This might be a loaded question, but I'll start with this one. How did we get to Rutgers there?
Okay, so first of all, how did we get there? Would start with, well, Ben, when I was 6 years old. Rutgers happened because first of all, they haven't been in the tournament in 30 years, and I am about to turn 32. And I played a lot of sports over the course of those 30 years, because they don't let anybody under 2 play sports. And I lost a lot of sports games, Ben, in my athletic career. And so as someone who has lost a lot over the past 30 years, I just want the best for Rutgers, and I'm kind of willing it to happen.
I love that.
That's how brackets work, right? Like if you write it down, it happens.
Manifestation.
There it
You're
is.
manifesting their victory.
Yes. Okay. I see manifestation all over Instagram. Like all these influencers are like, write down your hopes and dreams and they'll happen. Yeah. And I'm like, well, I tried that in high school and like I didn't get into any colleges. So like, are we sure?
So yes, we are sure. It's a thing. But let me say this. You should start manifesting, but do not start with Rutgers, because they're going to lose in the first round to Clemson.
They really are. But like, what if they don't? See, my whole bracket is based on the like, I hear you, however, method of thinking. My bracket is based on the upsets that I think would be really fun. And you know what? I think actually, tell me who you have winning the whole thing, and then we should get to our list, because everything that I would want to talk about with my final four matches we'll come back around to all of this. But who do you have in the national championship? Who do you have winning it all?
I have Gonzaga against Houston, and Gonzaga winning.
I mean,
it's boring. But I really think they're the best team. I have some exciting stuff in there, like, in the first few rounds. But I really think Gonzaga is a bit. Like, look at this. You know what's going to be demoralizing? Every year write all of these notes down for my bracket.
Oh my God! Wait! Hold that up again, Ben.
Every year.
Are you kidding me?
I do this.
Those notes. What could you possibly have written down there?
I do this every single year for my bracket. And what is going to be so demoralizing is when Charlotte's bracket does better than mine.
See? Yes, Ben, that is what I'm banking on. I'm banking on this absolute, like, I want everybody who looks at this bracket to be like, oh, she's off a rocker. And then I want it to win.
I mean, it's not going to win. It's not going to win.
I'm gonna be the first person to ever have a perfect bracket, and then everyone's going to. I mean, I can't even think of the fame and the fortune that would come with that. So let's not get ahead of ourselves. Okay, so you have. I mean, see, here's the thing about Gonzaga that I'm of two minds. So they're undefeated. They're obviously the best team in the country. They have a very easy path in this tournament. They have beaten almost everybody they have to face by at least 300 points. That's a real stat. So my question is that it feels impossible that they can continue this run and actually close it out. Like, this feels like one of those things where, it's like, not to bring up old wounds, but it's like the 06-07 Patriots, right? It's like it can't be that straightforward. Yeah,
well, in the very historic words of Kevin Garnett, anything is possible. And I truly, what the toughest game is going to be? And I know you're a noted big UVA fan.
Yeah,
University of
diehard.
Virginia, from
I bleed
Charlottesville,
orange.
Virginia, which I grew up probably 30 minutes. Not probably. I did grow. I did grow. I did grow up 30 minutes.
That I grew. It's exactly 30 minutes.
I grew up 30 minutes from Charlottesville and have been to plenty of their games. And they're the 4 seed playing Ohio, and I have Ohio in the Sweet 16 against Gonzaga. I have UVA losing to Ohio. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I won't forget that. Wait, where did you grow up? What town?
Do you actually know the name of my town? Because are you like making fun of me because you know it?
No.
I grew up in a town called Goochland, Virginia.
Okay,
the Gooch for short is what we.
Now I get it. Okay, I was like, "Am I supposed to know?" And then you said it, and I was like, "Oh, it's a funny name. It's a funny."
I didn't know if you had heard me say it before, but it's right in between Richmond and Charlottesville, actually.
Oh, cool.
Goochland, Virginia. That's where born and raised.
I could make a lot of jokes that I'm not going to make right now, but I'm really, I'm so glad that you have that in your life. Okay, let's go to our lists. Okay. I just want to say that I have Georgetown winning it all. And we can just quickly brush over that because we will get to it in a second. So our list this week, which I'm so thrilled to have Ben joining us for, is the top 5 very important and serious storylines that we are looking forward to in the NCAA 2021 March Madness tournament. Now, if you know anything about this show, you hear very serious and you think, oh no, this is going to be really dumb. And you're right. So, Ben, I want to start with you. I want to hear what your 5th most exciting, what I'm trying to say. Start us off.
The fifth most exciting thing that Charlotte is trying to say that is going to happen in this tournament is I truly believe that we have a chance to witness the worst game in history during this tournament.
What is it going to be?
I believe Texas Tech versus Utah State has the potential to be the worst game ever to be watched in history because they're both just defensive juggernauts and they aren't great other than that. And I think there's a chance that maybe 60 points total are scored in that game.
No way. I did not know. I'm going to be honest. I did not know that about those two teams facing each other. And that's one of the best things I've heard in a long. That is the sports analysis that I crave, Ben. Thank you for that. Now I'm like more excited. I'm almost maybe the most excited for that game because I want to see just how bad it can be. Mac McClung is on Texas Tech, right?
Mac McClung is on, Texas Tech.
I wanted to do a story on him a few years ago when he was on Georgetown, because I've had like a weird fascination with Georgetown for a while. And I followed him on Twitter and he followed me back and I messaged him and I was like, hey man, I'd love to write about you. And he was like, cool, sounds great. Let's set up a time to talk. And then I got an email from the Georgetown SID, and Georgetown has a policy that freshmen aren't allowed to talk to the media in their first semester. And he was like, what are you doing? And I was like, just, wanted, like, obviously I knew that I wasn't supposed to do that, but I did that.
Oh, and so you knew.
Well, I'd heard rumors, let's put it that way. And I still messaged Mac. And so maybe now's the time. Like I think he still follows me. Maybe I should reach back out and be like, hey man, talk to me. If this indeed is the worst game in NCAA tournament history.
That's how you should, when you reach out to him, just say, hey man, I heard you're about to play in the worst game ever to be witnessed during the NCAA tournament.
Perfect. Yes.
Let me hear your thoughts.
Okay. Yeah. I love it. See, that's great. Okay. So will we get the worst game of all time?
Yes. That is, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that we do. What do you have as your number 5?
My number 5, Ben, is will Josh Pastner fully morph into Ted Lasso? Because Georgia Tech's coach, I mean, this is a guy who said, here's an actual quote from him. Goodness gracious. God bless everyone for sticking with us. Holy Toledo. Like, this guy is so nice and unassuming that it almost, he's a guy who wears the face shield. For anyone listening who might not know, he gives like these very earnest press conferences. He leaves his players like really motivating voicemails. And I think I don't know whether I'm just too much of an East Coast cynic, but I see someone like this and I'm like, what are you hiding, man? I'm like, is this possible for someone to, is this like a very, very clever front for all of the, rules that you're breaking behind the scenes, or are you just truly like one of the good ones? And I like to believe.
Or is he in like the mafia?
Right.
Yeah.
You never know. Anybody, I could be in the mafia. There's no way of knowing. But I do think that he is about as close to being the real life Ted Lasso. Do you watch that show?
No. I mean, I've heard.
The vibe, though. The vibe is like Jason Sudeikis plays this like very, very nice coach. I actually honestly stopped watching it because the show got too nice for me. I was sort of like, everybody's just nice to each other. Like.
If you ever start a quote or like a press conference or anything with goodness gracious, I am automatically going to be locked in for the entire thing, which leads me to a great point. I am going to start all of my future articles for foxsports.com with goodness gracious, the Braves are hot.
There it is.
Something like that.
Goodness gracious, the Braves are hot. Sounds like the beginning of a country song. Like a pop country singer from Atlanta who's like didn't actually grow up there but is from Boston and is trying to make it. Wow, I love that. Okay, so that's my number 5. I want to see how far this nice guy thing can take our buddy Josh here. Okay,
I like that.
What's your 4th?
My number 4 is, and as we know, Indianapolis is the host of the entire tournament. Mm-hmm. Is Indianapolis overpopulated during this time? Like, what are they? Are you able to get to a restaurant? Like, can you walk? Can you get into restaurants? Like, everyone is there. Everyone in the world is like, can they handle this?
What are you talking about? You mean because all these basketball players are going to show up?
Yes.
Look,
you got 70 teams there right now. You got family there. Like, are hotels available? Like, if I am a traveler going through the city of Indianapolis, can I like get a hotel room there? That's been a thought on my mind for a half a year since I heard the tournament was going to be.
Traveler in Indianapolis. If I happen to be, if I'm on business, if I'm doing business deals in Indianapolis, will I be able to find a place to have a martini after my meeting? Listen, the one thing that I think Indianapolis has going for it in terms of, population control is that they do have the combine there every year. So they're used to being descended upon for sports things. I don't know. There's no way that the combine can have the amount of people that 70 teams would result in. But I'm also sort of like, okay, so yes, I think that COVID wise, having it in a, quote, bubble is a very smart thing to do. I also think when you have that many people, like,
it's not a bubble.
Earth is that possible? That's just like a new city. That's not a bubble. That's just
exactly
like a new place.
If you look at it like our country, the United States is a bubble. We're fine, guys. We're in a bubble. At some point, if you get to 1,000, 100,000 people, it's not a bubble. Like
that's what I'm kind of wondering, Ben. And I hope more than anything that it works. Like I am rooting with all of my might for this to be successful and for nobody to get sick. But I also am like, okay, well, let's see how this one goes. But yeah, the Indianapolis thing is, I think that's very real. Let's hope that everybody just like. There's just like a surge in vaccine options in Indy.
Let's just hope nobody gets sick. Goodness gracious, am I hoping nobody gets sick.
It's amazing. Okay, well, my number 4 is I want to know how Sister Jean is going to ball out in Indianapolis because she's fully vaccinated. She's 101 years old. She gets to go to the game. Did you know, as I was researching this and reading up on it, She said, there's an article where she said, I've had offers from people at the university. One alum wrote and told me that her husband was willing to drive me down. Another person told me she was going to sneak me out of the university. And another couple said they would like to kidnap me and Loyola would have to search for me. So people are getting like weird with Sister Jean about being at the game. And I think that the university was probably like, look, okay, the only way to get fans off our back or to protect this woman, like to be sure someone doesn't kidnap her, is if we just put her at the game already.
Yeah, two things come to mind with your number 4, which is Sister Jean. One, your number 5 and your number 4 are playing each other. Georgia Tech,
Yes.
sorry, and Sister Jean. So right off the bat, we're getting an intense matchup for your fandom.
We are, and we're going to get answers.
We're going to get answers quickly. And number 2 would be, I feel like people that aren't fans of Loyola Chicago or like, I feel like there's this weird like hatred towards the notoriety that Sister Jean gets. And when she was on TV, in that tournament, and she was like courtside and everybody was showing her, I'd hear people like, screw Sister Jean. I'm like, she's 100 years old. Chill. Let her be in.
That's what I wanted to ask you about, Ben, because Mark, my co-host, is sort of over Sister Jean, and I went back and forth. I was like, am I over Sister Jean? And then like the more I read about her, the more I was like, no, I'm not. I want the best for this lovely lady. And I think that it is a situation of oversaturation. Like, I think there are only a few famous people who can get away with being very famous and still be loved. I think that Paul Rudd is probably one of them. Like, when I met him on a plane and went viral for that whole thing, it was the only time that I have had something go viral online that has been overwhelmingly and completely positive. I did not get a single mean comment. And that to me is very rare. So I feel like Sister Jean is just a victim of the American fame cycle. Like, she's a celebrity now, which means that people are going to hate you if you're famous.
If she were 55 years old and on the sidelines going crazy, it'd be a different story. But Sister Jean was born in 1919. She can do what she wants. And good for her if she is playing out seemingly at least towards the latter half of her life. It's good for her if she's living it up.
Long live Sister Jean. Okay, great. I love that take. All right, what's your third?
My third is how Charlotte, as in you, how you are going to react when UVA loses in the first round of the tournament.
Oh, that is mean. That is mean, Ben Verlander. You're never going to get an answer because they're not going to lose, and it's that simple.
Ever. They're not going to lose
first round. They're not going to lose in the first round.
Okay. Stay tuned for my number 3 when Ohio beats Virginia and Charlotte, noted diehard UVA Charlottesville fan, is in tears.
Yep. Is that your number? Is that your second one?
That's not my second one. That is my third one because we're on number 3. What is your? Let's see your number 3.
I just can't do numbers. We're only like 2 in the list, and I'm already like I can't even count to 5.
All right, and that's Ben's top 5 list.
All right, thanks for joining me, Ben. Your number 1 was great. Okay, so my third is who is everyone gonna hate without Duke in the tournament? And my question is, I mean, they could be in later because there's like, if teams can't play because of COVID, I think that they're going to be, picking other teams to replace them. And, I would imagine one would be Duke.
I don't think they are. I think there is a list and they're not.
They're not on it. So they're definitely not in. Okay.
Yeah, they're done.
Good to know. Glad I knew that. So my question is, who's everyone going to hate without Duke? Because every year there is so much delight in either, Duke's demise or in people hating that they're succeeding. My question, Ben, is it just going to be Alabama?
That's a really good question, who it's going to be. And I don't think Alabama's very likable. at all.
You don't say.
Like, I could see that. That's a really good option. Like, so the other day they were playing LSU and they got in a big tiff. They got in a scuffle before the game. And I left watching that like, I hate both of these teams. I don't like any of them. I don't like any coach. And when Alabama won the game, the coach like yelled at the other team, and I'm like, I don't feel this at all. I don't like them.
No, I agree with you. I watched that too, and I was just sort of like, ugh, Bama won, and I was like, come on. And my feeling is like, Alabama is a football school. They don't also get to be a basketball school. They're what, a 3 seed this year in the tournament?
Bama?
Yeah.
They're 2.
They're 2?
Yeah,
okay,
they're 2.
Even worse. Like, who wants that? Nobody wants that. That's like when, as a Boston fan, that's when, like all the Boston teams are good. Everyone, like, I'm starting to get it. Like, I'm starting to understand what people feel like and how defensive Bostonians get. Like, I can see that about to play out in Alabama, and I hope that they lose so that doesn't happen. And I'm interested to see if that becomes like, is that the team that everybody is Alabama the new Duke is what I'm asking. Yeah,
it's almost like just stay in your lane. Like, we're giving you football. Like, we don't love it, but hats off. But like, stop. Don't ruin this tournament.
Exactly, Matt. I couldn't have said it better. All right. What's your number 2? What's the second thing you're looking forward to?
The second most thing I'm looking forward to is
That's
seeing.
How you say it.
The second most. Yeah, I said
right?
The
second thing you're looking forward to, and it's like, well, technically that would have been number 4 on this list, but numbers are really tripping me up here.
The second thing I'm looking forward to most is Drake, the rapper,
yes,
in fact rooting for Drake, the team, because Drake is a noted Kentucky fan, and also some other teams. He's kind of all over. He's kind of like LeBron in terms of all over the place. But whenever he wears a jersey or a hat of that team, also a cool thing that happens is they automatically lose. Automatically.
Okay, so hold on. The one pushback I will give, I too am excited to see that, like, what goes on here. Before you continue though, was the Drake curse broken when the Raptors won the NBA Finals?
I mean,
or are we about to find out?
I think there's been such a long track record of the Drake curse being a thing that as of now, that's an outlier, and it cannot be included in our data.
Okay, so you think that was the exception that proves the rule?
Correct. So, number 2, there is a team in this tournament, Drake. Is Drake rooting for them? They have to play a play-in game against, I believe, Wichita State. Wichita State. Is Drake going to come out like wearing a Drake college university? Sorry. Like sweater.
Preschool sweatshirt.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to see.
I can't. That's such a good one. That's going to be such a fun, stupid. I'm going to definitely write about that if that happens. Like, that's going to be a stupid Charlotte article, and I'm already like half dreading, half excited for it. Like, I know
you play it off like you're so dreading that's your thing. Like, you would be all in on writing an entire article about Drake rooting for Drake. And I love it. Like, own it. You own it. Keep it. I'm all in on it.
Thank you for that. It sometimes gets exhausting because I want anyone to know reading those insane things that I write is that's like a 5% of how weird it could have been, and multiply that by a lot, and like that's what it's like going through the world in my brain every day. So if anything, just feel good that you don't write those. Right.
Can you do me a favor? Yeah. And when you're writing these things, and I totally envision you writing and being like, okay, too weird, and then backing it. Can you for me in every article going forward just leave one of those sentences in that you're like, too weird,
Yeah.
Because I know there's at least 100 that come up, and you're like, I got to take that out.
Yeah,
Leave one of them.
I can do that for you. Or I'll just
Thank
send
you.
you it before it publishes. I'll be like, here's what didn't make it. And you can tweet the text and be like, oh,
Yes.
okay, for anyone wondering. Okay, I like that plan.
Yeah.
The thing that I number 2 on my list is actually for me fairly straightforward, and I cannot wait to see what the big upset is going to be. I know that there's going to be something absolutely shocking. I wonder if it's going to be Gonzaga. I feel like almost it should be, will Gonzaga lose? That's the thing that's very basketball straightforward, but those upsets are so much fun and are so crazy. And especially after this shitty year, I think everybody, like, that's when you feel most alive, you know? I think in sports, when there's a March Madness upset and you're just like losing your mind and you're like, oh, I feel again. And I think that the country needs that.
We need that. You stand up in your living room when like a 15 seed beats a 2 and you're like, I know nothing about this team. And you're like screaming.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And like that's exactly how I envisioned it when I wrote this, is like, what's going to make you stand up in your living room? Maybe that's going to be what this is. That's going to be what my list says. What's going to make us stand up in our living rooms?
Well, if you go back to my number 3 or 4, whatever, the 4th thing on the list that I have, which is Ohio, the number 13 seed beating the 4 seed. It all ties in. It all ties in together. Life is a circle, and Ohio beating Virginia would tie into this and your reaction. Yeah, I love our numbers.
Okay.
I don't know what our numbers are, but
I think the list should just be bullet points.
Yes.
That would make everything a lot easier. Okay, what's your number 1?
The number 1 thing I'm looking forward to the most is I would love a live feed on Coach K during this tournament.
Oh my God!
Like, is he sitting on the couch? In tears? Is he sitting on the couch like cursing out everything? Is he rooting for the tournament to get canceled? What's he doing? Is he gardening out in his yard? Like, what is Coach? He hasn't done this in eons. What is he doing during this tournament?
You know what I bet he's doing, Ben? I bet that his ego is so huge at this point that he's like, well, the tournament doesn't exist. Like, to him, if they're not in it in a year of having to deal with COVID, he's like, it's just not happening and this doesn't count. Like, everyone's been like, oh, you know, well, these championships come with an asterisk, like back in 2020, and people were sort of debating it. Coach K is like, it's not an asterisk, it's just like a complete erasure. Like, this didn't happen. Although that's sort of, the thing, what that makes me think of when you say that is, I really, really, really wanted a live cam on Browns coach Kevin Stefanski when the Browns had to play without him, and then they beat the Steelers. They beat the Steelers.
Pittsburgh, and wasn't he in like his parents' basement? He was in his basement.
Kevin Stefanski was it his parents' basement?
I thought it was in, because he was talking about his parents could like hear, or his family could hear him upstairs. So I think I like to envision at least that it was his parents' basement. It's
funnier if it's his parents. I really wanted a live feed on him, and I also wanted a live feed on Belichick when Tom Brady was in the Super Bowl. I wanted to know if he was watching it. Like, those questions, and all of these guys are way too, except for Stefanski, who, they won, so it's a good thing. But like, Belichick and Coach K are both way too proud to ever give us those answers. Like, we will just simply never know. And if there's any reporter out there who can crack that case, like, oh my God, for the love of God, please tell us what's going on.
Goodness gracious. Say that, and he will be locked in on doing it.
Goodness gracious. Let us know. I love that. Okay, so my number 1 thing this year is, how far will Patrick Ewing and the Georgetown Hoyas make it in this tournament? Because in my insane bracket, I have them winning the whole thing, and we all know that will not happen. But there's this poster of Patrick. I'm trying to move my computer. Can you see that?
Yes.
Yeah, so I live in New York. I'm not a Knicks fan, but I've become deeply attached to this poster and to Patrick Ewing, and I saw him at the Big East tournament, and I'm still a UVA fan. I don't want anyone to get it twisted or worry about that. But I became like upsettingly into this team, because I just think it's the most exciting thing that's happened sort of so far in these tournaments. And, Creighton looked like trash against them, and everybody says Creighton is great. And so I just want to see how far will Georgetown be the kind of Cinderella story that, will make us jump up from our couches, Ben?
I hope you're right. I have them losing in the first round.
Yes, of course you do, because you're a rational human being.
But in all honesty, it would be a really cool story. And it was actually really fun to watch him go through MSG during that tournament. And some of the sound bites we got from him being like, why aren't you letting me through? This is my building. That's gold.
Right?
Absolute gold.
Long live Sister Jean and long live Patrick Ewing, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, so I guess, I think that I'm really, Ben, you came on the People's Sports Podcast and you understood, before we did this, you were like, I think this is going to be good because, we have a similar sense of humor. And I was like, I think so too. But you never know until it happens. And you just absolutely crushed that list. And I am proud and I'm humbled. And I am still sorry, and I am also sorry.
About your other list.
Yes, about my other list. I'm still sorry.
I feel like me coming on here today was a great. We needed this for our relationship in terms of our working relationship. We needed this not only for your apology, but just to see our sense of humor, our list. I feel good about it.
Me too. I'm so glad. Listen, we'll do more stuff when, I think that as things start to open up and as it becomes possible to go to things, I love baseball. I think hopefully we can start going to games, and, we should do something where we are at the same games and do something fun.
There's definitely something fun in terms of you and I going to the same game with the same sort of sense of humor, but also me being diehard, locked in on the game and this is what's happening. This is what's happening. And you just,
I'll be like, do you see the hot dog vendor over there wearing a Groucho Marx mask?
You see that old lady? Is that Sister Jean?
Right, exactly. The one thing that I kind of think is funny about, I think I probably know the rules of baseball and the ins and outs of the sport better than any other sport, but I also think that I've done the weirdest stuff about baseball, which is sort of maybe those two go hand in hand. But yes, Ben, we're gonna tear up those diamonds. All right, I think we're done. Thank you so much for joining me. You're the best, and we'll do something again very soon.
Of course. Thank you for having me on.
All right. I am thrilled to be joined by Rob Riggle, comedian, actor, former Marine, sports host, talker. You've done it all. Thank you for joining me. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Can we say that, or is this time stamped in some weird way?
No. We can definitely say that. And I think I've neglected it so far. This comes out tomorrow. So on Thursday, everyone needs to just pretend it's still St. Patrick's Day because it's a very important. Look at you. You're wearing green. You're all prepared.
Exactly. Ready to go.
I love it. So you are joining me today because we need to talk about trash talk, and you're doing a trash talk campaign with Aflac, but this is bigger than any one thing. This is crucial and a huge part of March Madness. So do you want to tell me sort of what you guys are doing?
Well, as far as Aflac goes, they've got this whole campaign built around trash talking, which I think is pretty relevant for most Americans. I don't know many Americans who don't enjoy sports without a little trash talk amongst friends. And I say amongst friends because that is the key. It's got to be amongst friends, I think, to be enjoyable. Otherwise, it's just really getting on each other's nerves and trying to annoy other people. So among friends, trash talk is, I think, one of the best things you can do. The post-pain campaign, like you were talking about, Aflac, they've embraced this whole March Madness and trash talk ability because a lot of people can't share the games together. The way they're structuring the tournament this year, they're not going to be a lot of spectators able to go, and so this is a way to encourage friends to reach out to one another, family to reach out to one another, colleagues to reach out to one another and, have fun, talk a little trash in a good way, I think, and enjoy March Madness. So I that's the reason I got on board was, one, I like the company, Aflac. I think they do good things. And two, I like the campaign. I think it's a great campaign. It starts today. It goes today till Friday. If you get a chance, you can go on and you can hashtag post-paying trash talk on social media. Tell us why you want to trash talk to one of your friends. Tell us why they deserve it, who they are, what city they're in, all that good stuff, all the pertinent information. And then we may have one of our roast comedians go over there and do a little trash talking for you. Deliver the trash talk. So anyway, that's what's going on.
Show up at people's houses.
Yes, that's what's going to happen. Oh, of course, it'll be COVID safe. All the precautions will be taken. The message, the trash talk, will be delivered.
That's amazing, Rob. It's funny because you said you shouldn't trash talk a stranger. This is trash talking people by proxy through a stranger. So it's sort of like a loophole for that rule that you found. That's very clever.
Well, it wasn't just me. It was also the good folks at Aflac who came up with this. But I definitely like it. I like the whole premise. That's why the campaign, I was like, oh, I like this campaign. Tell me more about it. So anyway, that's why you and I are talking today.
I love it. So have you, I'm a little hung up on this. I think the idea of trash talking strangers is hilarious because, the whole point of trash talking your friends is it's like, we're in this together, you're in the trust tree, like we're razzing each other friendly. But like, if you just go up to someone and you're like, hey man, Michigan sucks. And they're wearing a Michigan shirt and they don't know you. They're like, I'm sorry, what? But there's something also kind of amazing about that.
It's a provocation. At that point, it's not trash talk. It's a provocation.
Right.
You're going up and challenging a stranger. That's not good. That's just a bad idea. Let's just not think things through.
I think I've seen a lot of that happen at hockey games, where the fans trash talk the other fans that they don't know. And then it turned into a fight because they're at a hockey game. So they're like, well, of course we're allowed to throw punches. Like that's what we do here. Yeah. But it doesn't seem like as much of a college basketball thing to do that. So I have a little game I want to play with you though. I would love to hear how you would trash talk certain schools. I think it's very important that we roast as many people as possible across as wide a spectrum of our listeners. So I've chosen a few schools here, and I want to know what you would say if someone were a fan. And I've heard that one of your good friends is a Michigan fan.
Yeah, look, this is a recipe for disaster for me. Just so
Why?
You're setting me up for a major fall here. Look, if you give me say something about Indiana and I just start ragging on Indiana, guess what? I can't go to Indiana anymore. So I'm going to have to be very careful how we play this little game you want to play. I might not give you the answers you want, but I will say this. To answer your Michigan question, one of my really good Marine buddies, guy I went to the basic school with, guy I went to flight school with, total stud. He's a Michigan man, and I'm a Kansas man. We've crossed paths many times in the basketball world, and we trash talk. So I take great pleasure in texting him messages. He takes great pleasure in texting me messages. We've made bets where if one of our team loses, even if we're not playing each other, he'll just take whoever's playing Kansas and I'll take whoever's playing Michigan, and we'll make bets that way. And the bets oftentimes are, if I lose, I have to wear like a Michigan t-shirt or sweatshirt and post something on social media saying, way to go, Michigan, or something like that. So the stakes are high. When you get into this world of trash talk and betting.
That is wild. So do you just have to, I feel like the worst part of that would be you just have to keep a Michigan sweatshirt or t-shirt around your house so that you're ready to fulfill your, do you order a new one online every time you do this and then burn it? How do you do that?
Yeah. I have a Michigan t-shirt that I keep on the floor of my closet, stuffed behind some old tennis shoes. And again, I have nothing against Michigan at all. It's just my buddy. I got to give him a hard time.
Look, trash talking, like, it becomes a bit, right? It's not really about this. Like, I don't have any teams that I truly hate, like my sports fandom is much more based on like, oh, I like these guys. And then I have some friends who really, truly just like despise other teams. And I'm like, but they're also just a group of people, like when you think about it, you're like, why do you just arbitrarily hate this group of people? But okay, so maybe what we should do is like,
that's because you sound like you're a very mentally healthy person. I think a lot of, honestly, I do think there are people out there because I know people who are like, they're full of rage almost about another team. And it's just like you said, it's just a collection of athletes who have chosen to play for this particular year, and it rotates every 4 years. You get a whole new crop of players. It's not the same team it was maybe when you were there, but they are there. And that to me it's so much more about them and what they're going through maybe. So, it's really, you gotta have perspective on these things.
No, totally. Or it's like when people will be like, I hate the government. And you're like, the government is just like millions of people spread out across the country. So I don't know what we're doing here.
Right.
Okay, Rob, maybe what we should do then is trash talk a few teams as nicely as possible. Like when I was in college, and I might have told this story in the podcast before, so to listeners, I'm sorry if I have. I can't remember what I say. I have like 4 stories and I just have to repeat them. We would go watch the baseball team, and we would get kicked out if you said anything remotely even mean. So like one time so we had to get creative and like figure out like what's a way. And so one time there was this batter on the other team who was warming up, and he had 2 batting gloves on and a third one in his pocket. And my friend just went to town. He was like, where's your third hand, man? Like, what could you possibly need 3? And he rattled them to the point where the guy struck out every time he was up at bat. So I feel like there are sort of nice, sneaky ways you can do it. So like, how would you sneakily, you're a big college basketball fan, right? Like you follow the sport really close. You're a Kansas fan. First of all, let me ask you who you have going to the Final Four.
To the Final Four. It's funny you should say that. What? I have it right here.
He's got a bracket, folks.
I have, this is hilarious. I have Kansas playing Michigan.
Stop it.
And I have Ohio State playing Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State is my dark horse. They're sneaky good and they're hot right now. So I have them making the Final Four. And I'm a homer. It's never going to change. I make the same prediction every year of my life. Kansas to win it all. Kansas plays Oklahoma State in the final.
Are you serious?
Kansas wins it all. That's what I got.
Wait, that
right
is
here.
so
I put it in ink.
Pick Kansas every year.
Yep.
You know what? Okay, so I have this theory that statistically, if you choose the same thing, like you're rather than sort of trying to guess to be right, like you always have to pick heads. You always have like never punt. Like you always got to go for it, because you're going to be right. Whenever you're so like the one time you're right, that is going to be so worth it. So okay, how would you like kindly trash talk Kansas? Let's turn this back on you. Like, what's the like nicest trash talk you could say to Kansas?
If I was to trash talk Kansas.
Yes.
Oh gosh. I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't even know how to start. I guess stop being so handsome and muscular, Kansas. Gee, it's overload. Hey guys, take a break. Share the wealth. You're academically amazing and athletically superior. So how about sharing the wealth, you crazy Jayhawks, something like that, man. I don't know.
Wow, that was really good. You really roasted them, Rob. They're not going to recover from that
they're
one.
not coming back from that one. Yeah.
Okay, kindly roast Ohio State, please.
Hey, Ohio State, why don't you add another 100,000 students to your enrollment? Good Lord, that's the biggest school on earth.
This is really good. You're crushing it. Okay. What about Eastern Washington, who Kansas plays first?
Hey, Eastern Washington, congratulations on being a university. No one knew that until last week.
That's pretty good. I certainly didn't know that. Loyola Chicago.
Hey, I don't know. I don't know enough about Loyola.
They have sister
Isn't there like a
Jean.
Loyola everywhere? There's like a Loyola Marymount, Loyola New York. Pick a city already. Loyola, nailed it. I'm out.
That's good. That's
Drop
a
mic
really
drop.
good one.
Boom.
That's a really good
Good night,
one, Rob.
everybody.
I'm gonna let you off the hook
Thanks.
with that one because you made up for it. Also, it's actually in the U.S. Constitution that every state has to have a Loyola, and no one talks about that. So I'm glad you brought that up.
I thought there was something like that. There was some
Yeah.
bylaw that I wasn't aware of, but yeah.
All right. Well, Rob, thank you so much for joining us. You are the worst trash talker I've ever heard, but the kindest. So I think you're doing something right. I really like that you covered your tracks there. Very savvy guy,
Well, I like America. I like going to different places in America. And so therefore, I try not to trash too many places.
That's probably smart. One time I talked trash about the Mall of America and I can never go back to Minnesota. So, it comes back to bite.
What's not to love about the Mall of America? That's crazy talk right there.
It's huge. You can get lost so easily is all I'll say. Without giving away what an idiot I am, let me just tell you, it's easy to get lost in the Mall of America. Rob, thank you so much for joining me. I wish Kansas all the best, and I hope that this is the year that your bracket is right.
Last time was 2008, so it's been a while. So they make it to the Final Four a lot, but as far as winning the whole thing, it's been a while.
There's hope. Wow. You guys, what a show. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for bearing with me as I learned that I don't know how to count to 5. Mark, I know I said we miss you in the beginning of the show, but that was pretty good. So, we'll see if you have a job when you're ready to come back. I'm kidding. I could never let Moses go. All right. Thanks for hanging, guys. Email us, thepeoplesportspodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on social, and we will see you next week. Hey, pals. Thanks for watching the People Sports Podcast YouTube channel. For more of mine and Mark's very weird rabbit holes, stick around, watch more. You can subscribe, smash that subscribe button. You want to. We're going to give you all the weird stuff we possibly can.